Our guest, JuE Wong, is the CEO of OLAPLEX. She has a huge track record of scaling big emerging brands such as Murad, Perricone. She was the former president at Elizabeth Arden. She was the global CEO of Moroccan Oil. She is definitely one of the go-to progressive executives in our industry and a true industry disruptor. And tonight we get to talk to her about how to work with those disruptions. Please, in the chats, welcome our good friend, JuE Wong. Hi, JuE.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
We're so stoked to have you here. So yeah, you have had quite the track record within our industry and with lots of big companies. What brought you into the beauty industry?
Well, beauty, I think, has always been very interesting to myself, especially because when I look at beauty, no matter what the times are, people will either trade up when they feel good, they trade down when they don't feel so good, but they will never leave beauty. Beauty is just one of those places where people feel comfortable and good about it. And I knew that nobody was going to die under my watch. So I felt like, okay, this is a place that I can definitely add value. And if I can make people happier, why not? And I love working with teams. And this is really one place where it is not a relay, it is a team sport. And everyone on that court and anywhere they are playing, they have their positions. And you can throw that ball right, you can make a three-pointer anytime and every time. And it doesn't matter who scored the goal at the end of the day. It doesn't always have to be me. It can be anyone in that team.
Yeah. And that's what's probably made you a really effective leader, is making sure that like the whole team feels super empowered to have that effect on the company.
No, I think teams are really important. I mean, I have gone through since 2009, working for different companies. From 2009 to 2021, I think I've been with almost 6 different companies. So you can tell when you are in those kind of companies, you need to lean in on your teams. Your team is going to be the one that helps you move forward, and you have to bring them along. And I do believe that at the end of the day, every team, no one, when they start on a job, raise their hand and tells their bosses, I really want to be mediocre and I really do not want to shine, and don't worry about paying me a bonus because I'm not going to perform. I mean, on the contrary, everyone joins an organization and basically said, I like this company, I want to make a difference, and I want to contribute. And along the way, when they lose that fire, it's not because they have changed. They are the same person. Who has disappointed them is leadership. Leadership comes and go, pivot, changes their direction, no focus, no vision, and then people just come, and then you wonder why people are not excited. So I think as leaders, it is incumbent on us to really stay focused and bring the team with you, because there's a reason why the cliche says there's no I in team.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a cool perspective to as a leader kind of look at your staff in that way of, hey, it's not them that's changed. Like even if like, let's say it's an assumption that you make as a leader, hey, my team hasn't changed, something's up here. That puts the responsibility and the control back in the leader's hands too, to say, okay, well, what can I do here? So I love that perspective. What got you into the business realm? Because it seems like you have a pretty deep passion for business and the strategy of business. And
yeah, I think what I like about business is that there's always a definitive sort of scorecard, right? So when you do well, I started off with the ultimate scorecard, which was being a trader. And in trading, there's no ifs and buts. You either made money for your company that day or you lost money. So there's no such thing as, oh, you're halfway pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not, right? And it was that way in trading. And when I left trading after almost 10 years, in fact, 11 years in the business, and I started in beauty, it was very similar, except that now your scorecard has a little bit more of a latitude, and you are able to really think of things more strategically and understand for yourself where is the end goal, and that it is not just the destination, but the journey that you take, both with the brand, the product, the company, and everyone that is in the mix, from your trade partners to your end consumers, to the community that you serve. So I looked at it not just as beauty, but I look at it as an opportunity to help myself be better at what I do, because I really love to win. And in business, you can see whether you're winning or losing as well. But I also love the idea of having an impact on people when they partner with me. And in business, you cannot do it alone. You know, if you think you can, and that's why a lot of businesses fail, you know, even with founder companies, where they feel like they are the only one that can shore up the company. At the end of the day, as you grow, you really need to empower your people, and you need people to feel like they can be part of the teams and the company's success. And that's what I like doing very much, because companies don't stay. You know, we call all these companies indie brands. We don't stay indie forever, just like you don't stay as a child forever. It is a phase and a stage in your business. So as we evolve and as we grow as a company and as a brand and as a team, we've got new milestones and new opportunities ahead of us. And that's something very exciting to me.
So cool. I'm just going to say this, stylists out there, salon owners out there, are you listening? Because this is good stuff. So we had a huge disruption this past year, of course, with COVID and the closing of salons, the reopening of the salons, the restrictions. Definitely the consumer habits changed significantly during that time. They're changing again. So I know a lot of what we wanted to talk about today is how do we kind of harness the opportunity here instead of getting caught up in like, oh, well, this used to be the way things were. Now it's not that way. So I'm going to be concerned about it. You know, how do we make the most of the opportunity with this disruption?
That is such a great question. I think what this disruption and what COVID has done is that it really has leveled the playing field. You know, no longer are we saying that the legacy brands are the ones that are going to come out winning. All the indie brands are the ones that knows what is happening. In fact, it got all of us thinking, what's next? And more than ever, when you look at the hair care industry, what ended up happening was salons, when they were sheltered in place and they were shutting down, and a rolling kind of work from home and being digitized and being able to be online to connect with their consumers and learning and education. I think what they realized how resilient that they are, right? Most of us always think we are creatures of habit, but when something like COVID happened, we saw everyone trying to pivot and wanting to find a place where they can be comfortable. I mean, people will have told you, oh my God, I would die if I have to stay at home 24 hours, 7 days a week. Well, we did it. And we are coming out of this, much stronger. And what we are noticing is that as people are winding down and going back to work, there's actually very little sort of unease. People are rolling with the punches and getting in there. And what I think is most telling for me, even though I've been in the hair care industry as the CEO of Moroccan Oil and now at OLAPLEX, I don't consider myself an insider. I still have a lot to learn. And so when I look at the hair care industry, what I find that is quite amazing is that they have not missed much. What they have done is they have pivoted. So they can't do, hair at home, but they will do a lot of, in their salons, they will start doing education and helping their clients. And at the end of the day, they also were able to learn to retail really well. And so I think all of this shows that resilience is what makes human beings unusual. And that's why after thousands of years, we are still around. We evolve and we are able to continue to be relevant. No one is saying, while there's machine ages and everything, we don't see a machine taking over hair cutting and hairstyling and hair coloring. It will never happen because that is an art, right? You can't have a machine be an artist. You can have a machine for convenience, but I think that artistry and that talent and that innate capability will never be taken away. And that's what COVID showed us.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you guys are feeling what she's saying, please give her throw a heart, throw a thumbs up, throw a yes into the chat. We want to hear from you. But the visual that I kind of got as you were talking is like, as we're moving, it's kind of like, because I love that word pivot. It's sort of like, okay, well, we've been moving this way for a long time in our salon. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, here's a block, here's a wall. Well, it's just a wall though. It didn't stop you necessarily.
Yeah.
if you're willing to go, okay, well, that path's not available to me anymore. So I'm going to pivot and see, oh, but what I could do is this. So what did you see stylists do that was successful for them to make that pivot?
Yeah, I think, we all realize that how important our hairstylists were to us, right? A lot of the clients could not live without them. And we saw that firsthand at OLAPLEX when we started our professional only affiliate program. There was nothing for the end consumer. All the fact was that their colorist or their stylist told them, look, I have this code from OLAPLEX. If you go buy something on their website, I will get paid after a successful transaction. None of the clients wrote to us when they were participating in this program, asked, what's in it for me? They knew that whatever they could do could help the hairstylist. And what we found was from a time when most hairstylists used to say, I really don't like retailing because that's not my job, they very quickly embraced it. And they understood the power of retailing as well. And then we saw other brands coming into the fold because the hair care industry is not one brand. It's multiple brands, different customers. And you want to give your customer access, right? A seamless, frictionless access to what they need. And I think when I saw how the hairstylists were embracing the online world, the digital world, the retailing world, it just showed that they not only understand the importance of being flexible, they were also doing well at it. And that is very heartening because most people always say that, hairstylists are emotional because they only know how to do, because they are creative people, they are artists, and so therefore they rule with their heart rather than with their head. But they show us up. They told us, look, when life serves me lemon, I'll make lemonade out of it, and they did.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think actually the heart-driven intelligence that hairdressers have is part of their it's part of their talent, it's part of their strength. And also I think that hairdressers are very intuitive people because they've spent so much time energetically with other people that they become very intuitive. And so when these things happen, a lot of people get just up here. They just want to analyze and figure out. Whereas I think a lot of hairdressers are very used to trusting that heartfelt intention or that like deep gut intuitive sense that they get, that it's like, okay, cool, I'm gonna try something different, I'm gonna move with it. I want to just say too, I love Jolene's comment. She said you learned how to scale the wall, which I think is great too, because yeah, sometimes it's not just turning away from the wall, it's seeing it and climbing over it or digging underneath it and getting creative. I love that. So, we're already starting to see a shift. You mentioned to me that we're actually already starting to see a shift back away from digital back towards brick and mortar. So when did we start to see that? Like, I guess what's the opportunity now for that?
Yeah, I think experience is really what everyone wants. We are all human beings. The sense of touch. Even going into a hair salon and having your hair kind of shampoo, just having that touch is very important. And so while you go back into your salons, you are experiencing something that you were used to and you want to, because I think I shared with you as well, even as early as May 2020, the New York Times ran an article and showed that, everybody without exception wants to go back to see their hair professional. That was one place that nobody said, oh, I love my box color so much that I'm not going to go anywhere. So it was very clear, where their heart was and where they were voting with their wallets. I think, this is the kind of thing that opportunities of this nature only double down for us. When hard times hit us, when we come out of it, we realize what is important to us. It puts perspective in your life. And you mentioned just now, how hairdressers are very intuitive. There is a reason why when any one of us sit in a hairdresser chair, we tend to let our guard down and we tend to share and we tend to be very open. I don't think we are even that open for those of us who have, a psychiatrist or analyst, as some people call them in the New York area. I don't think we are that. They still have to pull teeth out of those people. And here we sit down in a chair and our whole life story comes blubbing out. And I think I shared with my team before. And Ty, I see she's on here, who is our head of PR at OLAPLEX, heard me say that this morning. I kind of say, look, there's a reason why I never refer my hairstylist. So if she's around, sorry, it's because I don't want my deepest, darkest secret, be known to anyone. I know she's very discreet. She's unlikely going to say anything, but she's my secret. So I keep her very close, with me. And I think that's how we all feel about our hair, hairstylists and hair colorists. We feel very close to them.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember multiple conversations in the salon, starting with the words, okay, I don't know why, but I'm going to tell you this, and no one else knows this, and I had a woman sat in my chair, and she heard, this is really sad, but her husband had just committed suicide, and she had not talked about it to anyone at this point. And she's like, can I talk to you about this? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, like I'm here for you. I mean, she hadn't talked to her best friend. She hadn't talked to her parents. And she sat in my chair, and broke down and cried and like finally talked about it. It's like you said, there's just this special connection. I'm trying to remember. I had guests on, oh my gosh. Beth, maybe you'll remember. You can type it into the chat. It was someone that you told me to bring onto the show. But anyway, we were talking just about energetics, especially because she was talking about the chakra system and things like that. And she's like, think about how much time you spend in connection to people and connected, especially to the top of the head, which is that crown chakra. And she's like, you have such a deep connection with these people that we almost don't even know. So yeah, we're just so valuable in that in-salon experience. I love what you said. No one said, oh, no. I love my box color. Everyone that was doing box color at home, they were sitting there going, I cannot wait to get back to my hairdresser. Yes, Bobby Foster Kelly. Thanks for popping that in. It was Bobby Foster Kelly that was talking about that. But yeah, so we've got the clients coming back into the salon. It seems like even retail is starting to shift back more into in-salon hands. So is there anything that you're seeing that's kind of a trend or a movement that the hairdressers can start to take advantage of with this?
Yeah, I think consumers are also more empowered. During the whole time under COVID, we saw desktop usage go up, rightly so, because we were all on our Zoom. People were also having multiple devices, they were operating. And so while they were listening and attending meetings, they were probably searching for things and getting themselves more empowered with knowledge and education. So what I think we are finding is that no longer people are just walking into a brick and mortar or even into a hair salon and just picking products off the shelf and just buying it, because they want expertise advice. In fact, we recently did a focus group, and there were 3 things that a consumer will want to hear that they believe in rather. First is an expert. Second is product reviews. And third is family and friends. And if you think about it, that really hasn't changed prior, during, and after COVID. But what has changed is that the consumer now has more knowledge. And when they're walking into brick and mortar, they are asking all the right questions. And they have a newfound sort of respect for their experts. So when they walk into a hair salon today, they have always been open to listening. But because of COVID, the hair salon, the hairstylists have also learned the importance of communication, right? Because now you're communicating on a flat screen, you may be communicating on text, you're using apps. So it has opened up a floodgate of new opportunities for a lot of the professionals to have that conversation and be seen as the expert. And I think that is what's going to happen, where the clients have always wanted to get advice from their professionals. And today, with the professionals being more open to doing that, they are more empowered. So when they walk into any retail salon, anywhere that they go, they are going to have the right questions under their arms, and they'll be able to ask those questions and be empowered in choosing the products for themselves. So I'll give you a good example. In the past, it used to be the beauty consultant who kind of recommend things for you. You kind of ask, oh, I have this concern. What would you recommend? Today, a lot of times they are coming in with a list of things, right? They kind of know what the ingredient story is and what is this about? Why is this good for my hair? Why is this ingredient in this product? Is it clean? They ask all those questions, and it's come to a point where it is much better for them to go ask an expert. Why am I asking somebody, on the sales floor about something that is harder for them to answer than, let's say, if I go to a hairstylist who has gone to 1,600 hours of school, of cosmetology school, to learn about the craft and to learn about, the science of hair. Mm-hmm. That is the person you go ask the question, right? You don't go, like, if you want to know something about COVID, you don't go ask your next door neighbor unless your next door neighbor is a CDC personnel or a doctor, right? You go to the source. And that, I think, is what COVID has done, that people know where the experts lie. And that makes it a lot stronger for the hairstyling community.
Yeah. And I think you're spot on. I think during this time, being away from the hairdresser has made people even appreciate the experience and the expertise that much more. And I loved one of the things that you said that made me really, like, a huge light bulb went off, is because I do think that there was a point that people started to look at, like, peer reviews and things almost more. Like, it was almost like they were more concerned with what the Google reviews or, like, their peer reviews kind of were saying. But I think that we've already hit a point where people are like, well, that's just this. And I think we're also hitting a point where we realize that half that stuff was paid for anyway. Mm-hmm. So now people are coming back to, well, no, I need to trust the person that is using the product every day, is studying the product every day. Like, they are the expert. And so, yeah, I'm so with you. I think the opportunity is just incredible right now for hairdressers to even stand up more with more pride, with more energy, and say, hey, this is my stuff. Like, I am the expert here. I love that.
I like to think of our hair professionals as hair doctors, as dermatologists are to skincare. None of us would walk into a dermatology office and expect anything for free. I mean, basically, from the moment you walk into the door and you sit in the chair, you're paying a consulting fee. Yeah. Hairdressers don't charge a consulting fee. You can sit in the chair, you come up with a picture, you start talking to them. They give you all that upfront for free. And then they angst over the fact that, should I upcharge them with something else because it'll be really great for their color or for their service? They should really stop that and understand, they spend the time to get their cosmetology license. I mean, if I went to school to get my degree, can you imagine if I go to my employer and say, look, really, my degree is not that great, just pay me half of what you think you're paying me. Right. No one is going to do that. So a hairstylist should never undermine themselves. Craft and artistry. I would never be able to be a hairstylist because I don't have that artistry. I can go get academically, I can go to the cosmetology school and probably spend 1,600 hours and probably come up be a mediocre stylist. But there's so many people that I know in this business that really love what they do. And the people who stay in this business will continue to improve on their craft. And therefore, know that experience really makes you more valuable. And that when you charge for what you are valued for, your clients will truly respect you. And I find that time and time again, if you look at the Japanese culture, they actually judge something, whether it's of value, by how much it is. If it is actually too cheap, they actually don't think it's worth anything. And if you charge them more, they actually believe that it's worth more. And I think hairdressers should start looking at themselves that they are worth, whatever they think they are worth, just double it. And that is probably the better thing to do.
And, I love that you brought that up, because I do agree with you, because I know that there are people that shop on price in both directions.
Yes.
Some people shop for price, and we learned this the hard way with Groupon, right?
Yeah.
How many of you out there made the Groupon mistake? Raise your hand. I know I did. They come in and they say, oh, we're going to get you, 150 new clients this month. And it's like, oh my gosh, even if we only kept 20%. Well, yeah, we had a huge flood of super, super cheap services. And guess how many stuck around? 1, 2. It was terrible because that person was shopping based on price only. That's all they care about. On the opposite end of the spectrum, though, you have people that are shopping based on price, based on, well, if this haircut's only $20, this one's $220, that one must be better, right? And so charging what we're worth is not just about us. It's also about like what kind of clientele do you want to attract too.
No, absolutely. And there's a reason why, if you look at a lot of design fashion, they really don't fight very hard on counterfeit, because people who are going to buy counterfeit products are never going to be your customers, right? If they're going to only want to pay $40 outside of, I mean, the joke in New York is that before the pandemic, you will have all these counterfeit sellers on Fifth Avenue at around like 11 p.m. at night, and they will be in front of the Prada store with their Prada fakes. They'll be in front of the LV store with the LV fakes. And you would think the security could come out and just chase them out. But they don't, because they know whoever buys those, they will never walk into the proper store. So I would say that it's good that people understand the nature of Groupon, because it could be that one time, because they know it's a great salon. If they can get a special deal, they try it for one time and they keep going on to somewhere else. I mean, I believe that you get what you pay for. And even when I look at when my team, when I was looking at hiring people, my ex-boss from many years ago used to tell me, when you pay peanuts to get someone to work for you, you don't end up getting a real good deal. You end up getting a monkey to work for you. And is that what you want? And that is really true. People are worth something, and you cannot just keep thinking that, if there's a $25 haircut, then that is what I want. But a $25 haircut is probably going to be $25. I mean, you can't expect much more. And I'm not saying that, there's never going to be a good $25 haircut. I mean, there's always the exception. But at the end of the day, put some value in your 1,600 hours that you put yourself through. And it is a degree to all intents and purposes. In Europe, it's actually a prerequisite. Before you even get your beauty license, you've got to go through university and understand the chemistry of hair, the biology of skin before you even get there. So why are they anything less than somebody who's got a bachelor's degree?
Yeah, and I think to the point of our discussion, like the title of our discussion, looking at the opportunity versus the challenge, I think sometimes we get caught up in like, oh, well, that person down the street, they're charging less than me and they're getting more clients. Okay, well, that's the challenge. So what's the opportunity there? Well, if you just change your prices to fit their prices, you're not offering anything different at that point.
Yeah, it's a race to the bottom.
There's the opportunity.
Yep. And that's the reason why, at OLAPLEX, we have made it very, much a point with our entire team that we are not going to just promote or discount because, everyone is doing the same. Because there is what I call the opportunity to let people understand we price ourselves at a competitive rate, and we want people to know that it's worth it, right? It's worth the money that you're paying for. And when you understand worth, it becomes almost a non-issue. So when we look at word clouds, for most brands that I have worked for, every time expensive is sometimes the biggest word. In the case of OLAPLEX, we don't see that. And that is because people understand that at the end of the day, you deliver on your promise, they accept, the price that you are charging them. Mm-hmm. And that's why, with the hairstylist community, you deliver on your promise every day to every one of your clients. Why shortchange yourself, right?
Yeah. So I want to ask you a question, because I was really curious about this, because I know that you have been definitely a driver of kind of disruption through our industry. I think you've been on the forefront of those companies that are doing that. Who do you look to? And well, let me ask it this way. Who do you look to for inspiration? And part of the reason I'm asking is because I think sometimes within the hair industry, as a hairdresser or as a salon owner, I'm just looking at the person down the street where, I'm sure I could be learning from other people, other industries, other brands. So I'm curious, like, where do you look for your inspiration?
Well, from many different places. I love reading, and I also love junk television. So put that aside. That has nothing to do with my inspiration. That's more like me trying to decompress. But my latest, sort of love is reading Adam Grant's book, like Think Again. And what this book really taught me, and I've been like highlighting it, earmarking it and everything. And what it really tells me in that book is that always listen. And always rethink if you have to, because you do not want to have so much conviction that you get caught on mouth stupid by yourself. And how you being caught on mouth stupid by yourself is a very lonely place. And that be more like scientists, because scientists work off hypothesis. And if that hypothesis doesn't, jive with their data that they are researching and contributing to the hypothesis, they change out their hypothesis and they start all over again. So I think while it's not a person, it's and the author obviously don't own all the ideas. I think just understanding that we do not always have all the answers is inspiring. Because how many times have you heard of people sort of telling you, look, this is the right thing to do, data is driving this, and the decision is here. Anytime when somebody tells me, even in a research space, and these are really smart people, I always ask them, can you try and show me your theory and how you would re-engineer a successful brand? Let's look at Apple. Based on your theory, can you re-engineer what Apple had done? Re-engineer what Facebook has done? And then obviously being very facetious, I do believe that OLAPLEX is one of the most outstanding brands that I've worked for. I'll say, re-engineer and tell me whether you get to where OLAPLEX is and how it got started. And very often I can tell you data doesn't drive those answers. And therefore you've got to give yourself that your gut is also important, but marry up with data, then you really get a lot of opportunity to scale and be smart about your decision making.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of kind of looking out at the other industry disruptors, like an Apple, a Facebook, those, and kind of looking at, okay, well, what steps did they take? What did they do differently to adapt to the environment, to the people that are purchasing their products? And how do I do that within my salon? Even if you're in, Paducah, Kentucky or something, and, tiny little town, you still have that opportunity to learn from those big disruptors. I think a lot of times what limits us is that mindset of, yeah, but I only live here. I only charge this much. And, someone mentioned that $25 for a haircut isn't that bad, which, yeah, absolutely. I mean, JuE lives in New York, so you'd be lucky to get a haircut for $25. But in small town Iowa or something like that, $25 might be in like a pretty expensive haircut. But I think the important thing that she's sharing with us is don't allow that to control what you think your potential is. And your potential isn't the price that you're marking. Your potential isn't the town that you live in. That book, can you remind me what the book was called?
Yeah, it's by Adam Grant, Think Again.
Okay. So I think a lot of times people look at books like that and they're like, oh, that's for big business people.
No, yeah.
That's for the independent hairdresser as much as it is for anyone else.
I mean, I like to say this. In fact, you touch on a really good point. It's what I always used to tell my kids. When they were little, they would tell me, I would say, guys, can you just like get good habits, like pick up after yourself, apply yourself, be the best at whatever you do. I don't care if I ask you to pick up clothes, just be the best clothes picker upper that you can be. And then they will tell me, Mom, it's okay when I'm 10 years old, I'll do that. I'm little now, I can wait. And unfortunately, we are who we are. If we look back at who we are, if you know that a big part of yourself is what you always were as a kid. And you just kind of grown up, and as things become, as you get older, there's some modification, but the core essence of who we are stays the same. So it is actually very important to not let our geography where we are determine our future, because you make the best out of yourself. I mean, I know that there are people who may come from a smaller town, but they have so much influence and reach within that town, and they make a difference. And then there are people who come from big cities and they have big ambition, and it's great because they are able to apply themselves and really help out and do the things that they normally would not be able to do in a smaller location. But every one of us a contributor in many ways, one way or another. And so to limit yourself and sort of say, look, this is not my time yet, it's almost putting your life on hold. We should never put our life on hold. I should know best. I mean, I lost my husband almost 11 years ago. And my biggest regret is that every time he told me, let's go take a holiday, my answer is maybe later. And later is never going to happen now for me or him. And therefore, it is important that you never kind of put off something that you know you can live your life to the fullest. Otherwise, I always tell myself, regrets are never about failures. Regrets are always about things you wanted to do and you never did. And you never want to tell yourself, I wish I could have done something differently. Do it. If you fail, at least you knew you tried it, and you can sort of say, look, check, I tried it, it didn't work, I'm moving on.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that with us, and truly your heart goes out to your loss. But what a great lesson for us to hear from you is, because that's a pretty big version of it, but we do that so often. And I used to work with Paul Mitchell of the schools, and when Clayball would say, you have a case of the I'll be happy when, right? And it's like, once I get through this, then I'll do that. Well, once I get through this, then I'll be happy. Oh, once I get through this, I'll take that vacation. And it's like, well, if you keep doing that, it's never going to come. And we put so many things off in our business, like, oh, well, once I get through this, I'll have the bigger salon. Once I get through this, I'll open a new salon, or there's so many of those things. And it's like we have to grasp the opportunity when it's there. And I think that that's one of the things that a lot of hairdressers are seeing right now is there's such a huge influx back into the salon. There's so much opportunity. So it's a really important time for people to hear this message.
Yeah, and they're very loved. I mean, I don't use the word love loosely because I have been in skincare, I have been in color, I've been in fragrance, I've been in big, small companies, public, private, and I have never seen the emotional connection like I have seen here. And when I say here, I mean the hairdressing community, because I was also at Moroccan Oil. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of connectivity, that kind of empowerment through emotion, not just through intelligence, and just knowing book knowledge is quite priceless. I mean, you can't buy love. You can buy friendship. Somebody who's going to have a beer with you every day, you're going to buy them a beer, at the bar, but you can't buy somebody caring about you. I mean, COVID was a very good example. When we were fortunate enough where our investor owner granted us, a COVID relief fund, we decided to apportion some of the fund, to people who needed help through our team nominating, who might need this, a little bit of a helping hand. We deposited money into people's PayPal account where they actually come back and told us, I really don't need this. Somebody else would need this more than I. Wow. I have never seen that. I mean, like in any other industry, it's like, thank you very much. I really appreciate this. This is an industry where I have told, my friends, they may have a hand tied behind their back and they're like saying, I don't need a handout. You give this because I still have one good hand left. I mean, where do you find people like that? I mean, I'd rather be like that than be someone who's calculative and kind of say, look, where can I get my last penny from someone? And that emotional quality, that emotional connection is something that I will treasure forever, because one day I will be gone too, right? One day, OLAPLEX will be bigger and better than myself. And I need to know when to walk away as well. And this is, I think, the realization that all of us are not, we are not indispensable. But when you live, for the moment and do the best work that you can, then you prepare yourself and the team and whoever comes behind you, their future.
Nice. Dropping gems here, JuE. Gems. I mean, you have so many people just popping in. Ties says, preach. Yes, absolutely. So I want to ask you, because we're kind of getting towards the end of our time here, but because I really, there's something very specific I wanted to get to with you. I think that, and the great thing is I just want to preface this with JuE kind of told me, hey, we can talk about anything here. So there's a lot of discussion within our industry about like trust and lack of trust with brands and things like that. So I just want to ask you, like, how does the hairdresser really leverage the relationship with brands at this point? Because I think that's really changed, especially since when I started. Because like when I first started, it was pretty much, you are a TG salon, you are a Paul Mitchell salon, and they took care of us. Like, if we were selling product, we were getting great education, we were going on trips, and the world's changed. There's not that single brand loyalty anymore. And I think just the relationship between the hairdresser and the brands it's just not the same. So what do you feel is the best way for a hairdresser to leverage that relationship with brands at this point?
So that's a very great question to kind of get down to wind this kind of conversation down, because I think that's something we really want to live it in people's mind. One of the things is brands are no longer where people look at them and say, I aspire to be you. Today, you have to inspire your customers. And in our case, we have to inspire our hair professionals. My team has heard me say this 1,000 times. OLAPLEX is a brand that has been defined by the hair professionals. They have stand with us, they have stand by us, and we will continue to stand with them. But in order to do that, any brand, whether it's an OLAPLEX or another professional brand, you have to understand that the channels today are no longer about channel conflict. It's about synergies of those channels. And how do I amplify one channel to drive awareness and traffic to another channel so that all of us benefit from the growth? So if you think about what is happening, is that if you look at the Professional Beauty Association very latest report, in the US, there are 1.2 million hair salons and 800,000 stylists. While it sounds really big, if we just play within this ecosystem, we will never get to a revenue to compete against some of the bigger players. And when you don't compete well, you cannot support the very community that you say you're going to support. So brands are very mindful where they originate from. I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for OLAPLEX that when I joined, the people in the organization made it very clear to me, the first thing you need to do is to remove any professional products that is at retail, distribution. You've got to remove that. You don't remove that, you don't have our respect. We did that because professional products are only for professional. We are now calling our professional products professional prescription. We really are elevating the hairdressers to understand without a license, you're not buying this product. So I hope that the professional community, they got to learn to trust their brand, and every brand's DNA is different. And if you can trust them and know why they're doing what they're doing and where they're going for a reason, and that they invest back behind the very channel that they say that they support, action speaks louder than words, right? Don't just hear what I'm saying. Watch what we are doing. And if you believe in what we are doing, then by all means, throw your support behind us. And if we don't, call us out. I think that is the power of the balance of power now. It is not just with a company. It is not with somebody that has the deeper pocket. It has everything to do with the authentic nature of that relationship. It's like any relationship. If you're not authentic, it's over. there's a saying that say you can fool someone some of the time, but you cannot fool everyone all of the time. And hell, OLAPLEX has been so successful before me, and it will be very successful after me. And God be damned that I am going to fail them while I'm in the middle of it all. So I will not, disappoint, the team, the community that has defined us and that has made us. So I hope that they hear this and they understand how important, they are to us. And even if I forget, my team is not going to let me forget.
What a beautiful way to finish this conversation. And wow, what a conversation it's been. There's been so much that I'm taking away, and I can see from the comments so much that so many are taking away. So any kind of last comments or anything that you want to share with the community, JuE?
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for giving me this platform. Thank you for allowing me to be one of you for at least this 45 minutes, because it is definitely a privilege and a pleasure. And I see a lot of my team members here, and some of them are most of them, are on the East Coast. So thank you so much for taking your time, your personal time to be here. And I truly do believe that, it is my privilege to have gotten to know this community, because I am truly a more empathetic person. Anyone who knew me before this time know that I wasn't easy to deal with. When somebody came in and said that, oh, I need to take time off from my kids. I'm like, what kids? I have kids too. Why do you need to take any time off? I mean, maybe I won't be saying it, but I was thinking it. Today, I'm telling my team, please take time off, because if you are burnout, it's a bad reflection of what I'm doing as a leader. So, well, thank you so much for teaching me that, late in life, no doubt, but I'm learning. So thank you.
Wow. Well, thank you, JuE. We really appreciate your gift of time. We know you are an incredibly, incredibly busy person. So thank you so much for this gift to the community. And
Absolutely.
please go follow JuE. She posts some really great stuff on her social. And of course, you can always connect with her more about OLAPLEX too, if that's something you're curious about. So Thank you so much, JuE.
Absolutely. Have a happy 4th of July, everyone. Take care.
You too.